playing the hero. She considered demonstrating Howard's inability to pull her from the sludge, but the resulting spray of muddy water would not be worth it. Instead, she nodded. The groove steepened on his brow, and he slid from his horse, tossing the reins over a nearby branch and crossing to Howard's head.
"Come, boy. Will you move for me?"
he asked, his voice surprisingly soft. Howard threw his head back and whinnied, and Amelia tightened her hold on the reins. "I'm not sure he likes—"
"If you will urge him forward, I will push from the back," Charles said, focused. "We might be able to get you from the rut ourselves."
Amelia turned on the seat, following Charles with her eyes as he shrugged out of his navy coat and draped it over his saddle, setting his hat on top. "But the water is bound to splash you. And as I said before, I really think this is the work of more than one man." To say nothing of the fact that Charles, while a grown man, was not in the habit of performing manual labour. Throughout their childhood, Charles had preferred to follow her around than play with the boys. Surely his indolent disposition had not since changed. He could not possibly possess the strength required to remove her wheels from the mud. She only thought to save him from humiliation and a muddied person.
"Dirty water does not frighten me."
He cleared his throat, rolling up his shirt sleeves to the elbow.
"Mrs. Fawn."
His cheeks turned rosy, his gaze lowering as he stepped around the back of the carriage, his boots splashing in the shallow creek bed.
"On my count, urge the horse forward."
She nodded, settling forward in her seat again. Well, she tried to stop him. If he wanted a mud spray over his clothing, that was his choice.
1, 2, 3.
Amelia slapped the reins against Howard's rump as she rocked back, feeling the pressure of Charles's shoulder against the back of the gig as his grunt rent the air.
"Almost,"
he called, his voice strained, and she leant forward to help. The gig jostled as the wheels broke free from their mucky prison and lurched forth. Amelia pulled on the reins, bringing it to a stop once she was out of the muddy creek, her heart hammering in her chest. Turning to thank Charles, she found him walking back to his horse, wiping his hands together to remove the dirt. He was splattered with mud and his boots were filthy, but he shrugged back into his coat and remounted his horse. And now he was certain to offer his escort, to ensure that she made it to her destination safely. His attentiveness could be stifling. "Thank you, Mr. Fremont." Charles glanced up, his blue eyes bright and cheeks flushed. He smiled briefly, securing his hat back on his head where mud flecks littered his hair, and nodded to her.
"Of course, Mrs. Fawn."
Turning his horse in the direction of the home where she resided with her brother, Falbrooke Court, he took off, bouncing slightly in his saddle as his horse trotted away. That was all. He did not ask if she was well, or if she required anything further. Amelia stared after the man, waiting for him to glance back at her over his shoulder. He had the discomforting habit of doing so whenever they managed to be in the same place, and this morning would be no different, she was certain. But the farther he rode away down the curved dirt road, the less certain she became. Surely he could not overcome more than 2 decades' worth of infatuation so quickly. Could he? Howard complained, tugging his head and forcing Amelia to tighten her grip on the reins, but her gaze remained fixed on the dark hat atop Charles's head. He moved down the lane at an unhurried pace, rounding the bend and disappearing out of sight without so much as a turn of his neck. He had not looked back at her. Dropping her hands onto her lap, she frowned. It was not as though she wished for the man to remain so captivated by her, not when she was unwilling to give him the attention he sought. No, indeed she had been glad for him when he'd returned to Devon last summer and brought along a young woman whom everyone had believed he might wed. But that relationship had not developed. The woman had left at the end of the house party, and Charles had remained alone. Amelia would be lying if she said she was relieved by that course of events. She wanted Charles to find happiness, to overcome his infatuation with her. Any person who grew up alongside the two of them understood this to be the case, for Amelia had not hesitated to deny Charles time and again. She'd made a habit of refusing him dances and escorts.